Hi guys, welcome to Death Blow podcast. This is me, Darkel, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click on the bell when will come out new videos. And if you have suggestions or thoughts, you can even write me on DM and on Instagram at Death Blow Podcast. deathblowpodcast@gmail.com if you don't have social media and if you have suggestions. Today I want to talk about the Swedish black metal singer Pelle Ohlin, known as Dead, the legendary black metal vocalist of the True Mayhem band. Pelle, or Per Yngve Ohlin, was born in Österrike on January 16, 1969, from his mother Anita and Lars, his father. He has two brothers and two stepbrothers. His brothers are Anders, Anna, and then Daniel and Johan. Per Yngve was the first child of his family. From a Blood at the Död book that talks about Pelle Dead, thanks to Anders that described the minimum details about the family, he said that Pelle, since he was a child, was very shy, reserved, and he didn't like to communicate very much. But there is a particular event. When his parents had guests at home, they would be afraid that Pelle would say something inappropriate. And suddenly other parents discovered that there was something a bit different from the other children. He always had difficulties to express his own emotions, his own thoughts, and they thought that he could have a sort of problem, which in my opinion, I think that he was just a bit different, because he liked to be special in that way. And when his parents got divorced, that was a big problem for Pelle. He took this very seriously, like a piece of his heart was broken, and he took it in a very bad way, that when he was at his father's house, he wanted to go at his mother's house. So they had to take him very, very good when he was having these bad moments. They needed to be positive for him. They needed to convince him many times to be a good child with them. This was for Pelle a very big and stressful event. But despite all the problems that he had, he wanted to continue to live this life. But another day, thanks to Anders that said this in the previous interview at the NRK, he claims that Pelle was beaten up so badly when he was 13 years old by a gang at the school. And after he got beaten up so badly by these people, he came at home early, that he just laid on bed and started to sleep. But his stepmother was awakening, but nothing worked, so they needed to call an ambulance as soon as possible. He rushed into the hospital and he had a broken spleen, and his body was dead in the moment. So throughout this experience, he had the near-death experience that he talked even on his music. On other interviews that he did on the magazine later on, when he was the singer of his band Morbid, he claimed that he saw this blue and white shape surrounding his body and that he was literally dead after that. And he walked the path of the non-mortals. But then the doctors brought him back to life, and then his life changed suddenly. Anders claimed that this terrible experience that he had influenced him a lot through this music that he was composing and creating. He was always curious about the afterlife, the beyond, the ghosts, the paranormal, and even about Satanism. So when he was a teenager, he started to read heavy metal magazines that were talking about Wasp, Kiss, Venom, and all the rock bands at the time. Anders remembered that when he was attending the hobby school in Sweden, he usually liked to meet Pelle at the roof of the school, talking about the girls, talking about life in general, and even about the school. Anders remembered even that Pelle went at school with a sort of mopped, with a pentagram that he drew on a side of it. And this was very particular to remember about Pelle, because since the early age he was different from the major part of humans and people. He remembered about his dead brother that Pelle liked Kiss a lot. He liked the band Kiss, and he remembered when they listened together the Kiss LP Creatures of the Night. And since that moment Pelle became very, very big lover of this music, from Iron Maiden, Ozzy Osbourne, AC/DC, and even Motorhead. He bought No Sleep Until Hammersmith in London '82 album at the time, and after that album he was listening Metallica. This music passion grew so much that the only bands that he listened were Merciful Fate or Venom, and then even Bathory first album that he liked. Anders remembered that when he came back home with a particular LP, Pelle was so happy that they started listening. And this album was A Sentence of Death, from the band Destruction. So Pelle, after this, he started to listen very accurately these bands, from Venom, Bathory, and even Merciful Fate, King Diamond, and even all the bands like Metallica and Slayer. Anders remembered that he was not a special musician when he started. He was not playing guitar or bass. He tried actually when he was in a band, I think it was Scapegoat in 1985, but he was not feeling good to play in this. So he continued to write mostly the lyrics and singing. And the first band that he formed was Ohlin Metal, which he did a sort of drawing of this band logo. But because he didn't find the musicians or he didn't have the ideas very much to pursue this, he started Scapegoat as a project that then became Morbid. About the Scapegoat I can't tell very much because there's any recordings or any rehearsal tape, anything related to Ohlin Metal either. So we need to arrive to 1986, where Pelle Ohlin meets John Hagström, aka Gehenna, that was playing a sort of Slayer thrash metal. And with this guy Gehenna, they formed Morbid after a while. We could say that Morbid was his official first band. He started Morbid in 1986 with, like I was telling, John Hagström, TG on guitars, Jens Näsström, known as Dr. Shits, and Lars Petrov, that we lost recently due to a cancer, rest in peace, on drums. I think that Morbid had many lineups, so let's start from the first one that we know. Pelle Dead on vocals, John Åkerström on guitar, Slater on bass, and Sandro Kyander as the drummer. This was a scapegoat that then became Morbid. Then we have, for a short period, Marcus Clark on guitar, TG. With this first lineup they started to record the famous raw compositions for songs, but nothing official yet. And so we arrived at 1987, the most important year, the year of the goat. Yes, because the nickname of Pelle Dead was even Goat, or even Gotai, and the official lineup of this band, it is Uffe Söderlund on guitar, Lars Petrov Drutten on drums, Dotto Schätz Jens Näsström on bass, and Pelle on vocals. In 1987, on 5-6 December 1987, Morbid recorded the first demo, December Moon, at the Thunderlord Studios in Stockholm. The evolution of this band is very important, not only for the lyrics that are extremely dark, but even the thrash metal riffs that we perceive in the songs. First track of this demo is My Dark Subconscious, that basically talks about Necronomicon, the book written by H.P. Lovecraft, a writer that written about paranormal and unknown stories. From the first notes you can perceive the darkness that Pelle wants to describe into his music. Something that is going to haunt you, something that is dark, something that wants to enter inside of you like a possession. Pelle was very fascinated by these dark stories, especially Necronomicon, like I was telling, and he named this on My Dark Subconscious lyrics. He said, I laid read Book of the Dead. Then he used words as impossible to cure my dark subconscious, the dark memories of a laid read Book of the Dead. Then he used phrases like in my mind, the horror lives, that from my past life. Yes, because Pelle always liked to talk about reincarnation and even about past lives. But not only about this, even about Ishtar, the goddess of Babylon. About the riffs are very thrash metal influence like Slayer, Metallica. Why is beautiful Morbid music? Because it has a beautiful scale, especially at the chorus part, and the solo guitar is very haunting. Then second track, Wings of Funeral. Here he talks mostly about the curse of the old cemetery, and he uses phrases as terror of the church of death, Satan will be possessing my death. Seems like Pelle was very fascinated by paganism and pagan rituals. He was very fascinated even about necromancy, a way to communicate with spirits, for example. He even liked books like Malleus Maleficarum or Book of Witches. Musically speaking, here becomes more faster and faster, especially the riffs, and there is a good escalation. What is good about this track is even the solo parts of the guitar. It contains a good scale of notes and an amazing structure. Then we need to pass to the next song, From the Dark, when it talks basically about necromancy and about the darkness in general. Here he basically talks how a person feels the death near him. He uses terms as one funeral is near, no chance for my soul of the funeral from the past. There is always this past that Pelle talks about in his lyrics that is very present into this structure of this music, and especially the lyrics, that reminds me of a poetry like Edgar Allan Poe or even dark poetries. Here he talks even about the awful shapes, the armies from the dark, movie scroll like in sea's crime. It's like an amount of soldiers are ready to kill him. Something is going to kill him, and he perceives this presence, which it is very amazing to reason about it. Darkness for Pelle could be even amazing, fascinating. The darkness like the night, full of stars, the infinite sky that you see. Then he uses terms like pathetic graves, lots of death before I get saved, from the grave, other candles from the dark. Here he wants to describe how he wanted to be saved. Maybe it was a metaphor, maybe it was a hidden message that he wanted to express through these lyrics, but it's something that we should take care of. In From the Dark stuff, and especially the track, we can perceive that it's slower than other tracks, and it is very doom metal. Reminds me a little bit of Candlemass, and even about funeral marches. This song reminds me a lot to Freezing Moon, a little bit of. It is dark, slower than other tracks, but very amazing and particular. He seems to describe like, I'm dark, nobody can save me here, which it is very interesting to reason about it. This slower track, but even faster in certain points, it is brilliant, one of the best from December Moon in my opinion. Contains beautiful scales that come from thrash metal, and the voice of Pelle is full of pain, darkness, that he is very amazing to describe. Why not starting to talk about the most hilarious song, but even dark, Disgusting Samla. Let's start to explain what is a Samla. Samla is a typical Swedish cake. It is a Swedish bun with almond paste inside of it. In this song, Pelle describes how hilarious could be and how funny darkness could be. This black humor is present here. He uses terms, jokes like, I know I am disgusting, life of trash, trash of the dead. What the fuck is this? Bun filled with cream and almond paste. We could say that Pelle Ohlin didn't like very much semla, or samla in Swedish pronouns. Then he used terms as I didn't save, I ate today, bun filled with cream and almond paste. And then he used a sort of rhythm that is la 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 la, which is very particular and very unusual for a dark person like Pelle Ohlin. Maybe it was just an image? Here, thrash, it is very important, especially on the chorus part. The song is faster, but not too much, and it doesn't contain slow parts, this song. I could say that in Morbid the most influence is Sodom in my opinion, because contains extreme thrash metal, but even dark influences that come from doom metal like Candlemass. Pelle Ohlin uses here the throat vocal. It is not in growl or in scream. It is a sort of suffocated scream, but mostly suffocated whisper. Pelle Ohlin had 3 shows, I guess, or 4 shows with Morbid live. They played twice at the Ultrahuset, this punk squat full of punk people, and another show at Birka Gordon. Year of the Goat LP contains all this, so check it out, listen on Spotify or even order on Amazon this amazing album, Year of the Goat. Pelle, together with Morbid, or some Morbid members, participated to Candlemass video Bewitched. I know guys that you know this, but it's important to remember this amazing video where we see Messiah Marcolin, the Candlemass ex-Candlemass singer, singing in a very doomed way and with a very weird face, ready to haunt you. Pelle was unique in this video because he wanted to represent how a person that is doomed, very doomed, and he tried to represent a doomed person how could be. In fact, if you watch the video, you can perceive Pelle that has a weird face, like possessed by a dark creature, looking up at the sky, like in a sort of trance. After December Moon, we could say that Morbid didn't do very much, except these concerts and this demo. So Pelle decided to leave Sweden to participate and join the band Mayhem in Norway. Thank you to have listened until here. Next week will come out the part 2 dedicated to Pelle Ohlin, known as Dead. So subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, press like, share. Don't worry about it. If you have a suggestion, write me on Instagram or deathblowpodcast@gmail.com. But for now, see you soon guys.